What I'm looking at today is the second volume of Netflix's Love, Death, and Robots. The first volume had 18 episodes. Some were excellent, others not so much. The second volume has only 8 episodes, 10 less than the first. And as I've said in relation to other series Netflix have produced, this is such a welcome development, because when there are too many episodes, it not only becomes this massive investment of time to watch them, it forgets that sometimes less is more. You have to keep the people wanting more, and you do that by producing less episodes. So 8 episodes as opposed to 18, I'm all for it. I think it's an awesome development. So let's begin. The first episode of Volume 2 is called Automated Customer Service. And if you've had to deal with automated customer service, you know exactly what this is about, and it's hilarious. To me, it came across as a cross between The Demon Seed and WALL-E, and opens up around this retirement community where older people are being cared for by robots to do various things. From cleaning your house to picking up dog poop, robots handle it all. And this one particular robot in this one particular woman's house develops a little glitch, and she calls customer service to address the problem. It goes without saying, everything goes to shit really quickly, and this robot becomes the Terminator. Not in terms of the way it looks, but in terms of the way it acts. It very much makes it its mission to try to kill this woman and her dog. It is a hilarious episode. And the animation house is French, which might have something to do with the quirkiness of the way the characters look. They have big heads, and they're just very funny looking while still looking human. In fact, they remind me of the videos for the Genesis song Land of Confusion. That was with puppets, but visually speaking, it looks just like it. It's a winner, a great first episode. Episode 2 is called Ice, done in the visual style of Zima Blue, except, if I recall, Zima Blue was more of an actual cartoon. Ice, while done in the visual style, is computer generated, but it's an interesting look, and it is also a very strong story. I don't enjoy it quite as much as Automated Customer Service, but I think it's a more resonant and beautiful story. It revolves around these two brothers who live on another world, an ice world in fact, and humans to live in this environment have been altered genetically. So they're stronger, they're faster, they're more acrobatic, except for one person, one of the brothers, and he is just a regular person. But he wants to accompany his brother, who is genetically altered. So they decide to go whale watching. Now, these aren't actual whales as we know them. They're very similar, though native to this ice planet. And it's a remarkable, touching, beautiful episode. And what I appreciate most about it is its simplicity. It is essentially about brothers. It is essentially about what makes a man a man. And sometimes having great abilities isn't what does it. Sometimes it's what's in your heart. It's what you'll do for the person who you care about. Ice is beautiful. It's a great episode. The third episode is called Pop Squad, and this is also a very good episode. Though It's the most realistic looking in terms of the animation yet, and there's a little bit of dead face, which is to say that uncanny valley that exists when you have computer-generated people's faces. I think the problem is that the animators aren't animating the faces properly, which seems fairly obvious, but let me explain further. The face is composed of all sorts of muscles and structures that move and react and catch the light. And when facial animation is typically done, these structures are ignored. And so the face is flat, very dead looking. And that's very much the way most faces look in this episode. It's gorgeous, but very numb looking. And that's a pity because a lot of the action in this episode revolves around close-ups of people's faces. In any case, Pop Squad is about an officer who is tasked with killing children, which sounds weird on the face of it. In any case, the story takes place in a future time, and it appears that we've found immortality or something very close to it. People are living for hundreds of years. So, therefore, someone has determined that, I assume government has determined that we can't keep reproducing because there's only so much space, there are only so many resources, and since people aren't dying, we can't have people constantly appearing. Then that would be disaster. So what officers of the Pop Squad do is kill children. That is literally their job. Children are apparently illegal. It's very much the type of situation described by Ray Bradbury in Fahrenheit 451, except we're not talking about books, we're talking about people. It's very touching. As I said, it's a beautiful episode, but the animation kind of gets in the way a little bit. And that's not to say that all of it looks that way, but enough of it does that it's distracting. But it's a good episode. It's certainly pretty strong. Not as strong as the prior two, but strong nonetheless. Episode 4 of Love, Death, and Robots is called Snow in the Desert. And I had to watch this a second time because first time around, I admittedly wasn't paying attention. And this is an episode that rewards paying attention. So I watched it a second time and realized that it is probably, at least so far, one of the stronger episodes of this volume. It revolves around a bounty hunter named Snow. Snow in the desert, get it? Because it felt like it was being too clever for its own good. In any case, the facial animation in Snow in the Desert is some of the best I've ever seen anywhere. It is so lifelike and so realistic in many instances that it's remarkable. I am not kidding. The facial animation in this episode is great. Some of the most photoreal work I have ever seen anywhere. Though the story revolves around, as I said, a bounty hunter named Snow, who we learn is, for all intents and purposes, immortal. He regenerates from wounds. He's like Wolverine, essentially. And since the death of his wife, he decided he just wants to be done with people. He wants nothing to do with them. So he lives on a desert world and pretty much just minds his own business. But people being people, they're not having it. So, wanting the secret of his immortality, they're trying to kill him in a rather novel way. Essentially, they want his testicles. Now that sounds kind of hokey, but it actually works really well because The episode establishes that his testicles produce an element which is the source of his immortality. So when they say they want his balls, they mean it literally. Snow has to survive these bounty hunters that are sent to retrieve them. It's a beautiful episode, not only animation-wise, but story-wise. And its themes revolve around loneliness and isolation, and it's just another good episode. With less episodes, you get more quality, and that's what we're seeing here. I've watched episodes 1 through 4 so far, and all of them are good. All of them are distinct, and it's just a better viewing experience. So, Snow in the Desert, really good, really touching, really gory, really beautiful episode. So far, 4 out of 4. Everyone is good in their own way. Episode 5 is called The Tall Grass, and like every other story that came before, is really good. Though it's really good in a very specific way, in the sense that this is probably one of the best depictions of a Lovecraftian story that I've ever seen thus far. It is really good, and it has all the elements that made Lovecraft's work great. And in fact, I think it's just a coincidence, but the person who it happens to, the protagonist of the story, looks like H.P. Lovecraft. Really good, great story. Though it's topped by the next, which is called All Through the House. Which is hilarious. And you might think you've seen it all. Trust me, you have not. This is a great story. And in fact, it has only one weakness. And that weakness is its ending. Because, and I'm not telling you what it is, though it didn't need to be said. The setup for this was so perfect. It led into events which were just so awesome, and to have a character say what this character says at the end kind of spoils it a little bit because, as I said, it wasn't necessary. It answered that question already. Great story, probably the best story of Volume 2. The next story, number 7, is called Life Hutch. And it's also very good. And in fact, the CGI is so subtle in some instances that I couldn't tell it was CGI. And it's the first episode, well, technically the second episode of Love, Death, and Robots where you have a recognizable actor playing a part. In this case, it was Michael Jordan. And the actor, not the basketball player. And it revolves around a pilot, played by Jordan, whose ship crash lands on this planet after a fight with some alien menace. Though there's a life hutch on this planet, a place of shelter just for situations like this. So he finds it, goes into it, and something goes horribly wrong. This is a good episode. The plot for Life Hutch is essentially the exact same as Red Planet. And in fact, even the antagonist in Life Hutch looks just like the antagonist in Red Planet. I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, though as far as I'm aware, there were no people in common between either production, but it's still very good, and Michael Jordan is a great actor, though it's a little derivative. It's really surprising, and in fact, if you have not seen Red Planet, check it out, just to see how much alike this story is to it. Oh, I should also mention, it's like 85% Red Planet, 15% enemy mine. It's still very good, though, as I said, slightly derivative. The last story, directed by Tim Miller, one of the creators of Love, Death, and Robots, is called The Drowned Giant. And it's a very gentle, beautiful little story about a drowned giant and time and death. And it's just really beautiful. It's a very gentle story. I know you might be thinking to yourself how you can have a story about a drowned giant be gentle, but it is. It's very kind. It's a nice story. It's almost passes in a way that the giant in the story passes. It just kind of fades. Very gossamer and wispy, which is interesting. Very good story though. And what I like most about it is that it showcases the variety of what you can get with this series and the anthology format in general. It works really well. It's a nice end cap to a really great season of Love, Death, and Robots, Volume 2. And I can't wait to see the next, which has already been greenlit, by the way. This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com in review. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know down below. And as usual, consider a like or a follow. Peace.